Hi, my name is Rebecca Main. Welcome. Thanks for practicing. We're going to go into a more challenging Vinyasa flow, focusing on hip and chest opening arm balances. So grab props that you think you might need, a blanket if you were on the ground at any point to prop the hips up or to pad the knees. And 2 blocks, especially if you have tighter hamstrings, and if you don't have blocks available to you, you can always either just bend your knees or use something else as a makeshift prop. So to begin with, find a nice tall seat and allow your eyes to close. So as we explore stabilizing and finding balance, we'll discover that this doesn't necessarily mean that everything is even and things are still. Quite the opposite. Our balance comes from being able to dynamically shift, to sort of roll through all of the micro adjustments our body is making for us, to be able to transition gracefully. And we also might notice a pretty big difference between the left and right sides of our body. That might never be in balance, depending on where we're dominant. But as we seek balance, and not necessarily evenness, when we soften and strengthen simultaneously, we can find an adaptability that keeps us in this even-keeled breath and state of mind. And that, in turn, lends itself to staying strong and balanced in these poses as well. We'll notice that when the breath wavers, when the mind wavers, our physical practice also falters. So we can approach these balancing poses from both directions, from the physical and from the mental focus on the breath. So establish your yogic breath here. If you're familiar with Ujjayi pranayama, engaging the muscles at the back of the throat to create a soft oceanic whisper, giving your mind a sound to be absorbed in. So it's, again, balanced, and both sides of the breath are equal length, equal strength. Oftentimes, we'll focus on the fullest in-breath and we'll forget to complete the out-breath. And in forgetting the out-breath, we're really forgetting that key component of softening and releasing, so that we're not always accumulating tension, trying to maintain the balance, but we're able, again, to adapt and to flow. So take 5 more cycles of breath here. And keeping this breath, gently blink the eyes open. Find your way into tabletop. As you inhale, extend the right leg out long behind you. Left arm alongside the ear, left palm facing the right. Bend the right knee, press the sole of the right foot higher to the sky, and then squeeze the heel in toward your sits bone. Maintain that strong activation in the hamstring. This might be plenty. If it is, stay here or flow. Right knee to nose,
Left elbow to left hip. In breath lifts you back up. And exhale, hug it in. So as we keep the right knee as bent as possible, we're feeling the activation of the glutes and the hamstrings, which help us stabilize in a lot of these balancing poses. For 3, 2, 1, hug it in. Reach out long, left palm down, right knee down. Left leg extends out long, right arm out long. Bend the left knee, kick the ceiling away from you. Hug the heel in, stay here, or flow. Hug it in. Knee to nose, elbow to hip. Inhale. Exhale. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Right leg extends out long, right knee bends. Kick through the ceiling with the sole of the foot. Left hand swims around for the right foot, ankle, or shin. Kick into the hand, lengthen the heart forward, tailbone back. Notice if your weight shifts to the left, swing your left hip in and hug it up. For 3, 2, and 1. Without slingshotting, release. Switch sides. Left foot kicks into the sky. Right hand for the left foot, ankle, or shin. Then kick into the hand. Notice if your right hip wants to swing out to the right, hug it in, stabilize through the hip, then kick up. 3, 2, without slingshotting, release. Plant the palms, tuck the toes. Downward facing dog. As slowly as the breath, really easy, since we're just warming up. Float the right leg to the sky. Inhale. Exhale, knee to nose, hug it in. Stay here as you breathe in. Stay as you breathe out. Lift the hips and the knee a little bit higher. Inhale. Right foot to the top of the mat, left knee taps down. Untuck the toes, drive the top of the foot down, swim the arms alongside the ears. Play with the balance here by lifting the gaze. And exhale, fingertips graze the earth, squeeze the shoulder blades together behind you. In breath brings you up, reach tall. This time as you swim the fingertips back and reach to the back of the mat, shift the hips back, balancing Ardha Hanumanasana, half splits. Fingertips graze forward and up. Exhale, rock it back without using the hands, so feel how the hips stabilize you and balance. One more time. Inhale, rock it forward and up. Exhale, rock it back. In breath scoops you forward and up, breathing in. Keep the hips as they are. Exhale, plant the palms. High plank, breathing in. Exhale, knees, chest, chin, breathing out. Inhale, reach back. Shalambhasana, zipping up the legs, driving the fronts of the hips down, lifting from the strength of the spine. So as we move into spinal flexion, we want our postural muscles to be activated and strong. And rather than focusing on bending the back, as we will move toward dancer's pose, we're focusing on just opening the hips and the shoulder girdle. One more in-breath. Exhale, plant the palms, lift up and back. Downward facing dog. Float the left leg to the sky, breathing in. Knee to nose, breathing out. Full body inhalation here. Stay as you exhale. Pike the hips even higher, breathing in. Left foot to the top of the mat, breathing out. Right knee taps down, untuck the toes, drive the top of the foot into the mat. Rise up. Anjaneyasana, low lunge.
Lift the gaze past the fingertips to really challenge how much you're grounding through the front foot. Also lift and flare the front toes instead of gripping through the toes. Fingertips reach forward, down, and back. Squeeze the shoulder blades together behind you. In-breath brings you back up, Anjaneyasana. Exhale, shift the hips back with you this time. In-breath scoops you forward and up, reach tall. Exhale, shift it back. Feel without the hands how the hips need to stabilize. In-breath scoops you forward and up. Exhalation waves you back. In-breath scoops you forward and up. Keep the hips as they are. Exhale, plant the palms. High plank, breathing in. Exhale, lower knees, chest, chin, breathing out. Untuck the toes, drive the tops of the hips down. Zip up through the legs, reach the fingertips back. Lift the chest, lift the feet for 3, 2, and 1. Plant the palms, lift up and back. Downward facing dog. Circulate the breath. And float the right leg to the sky as you breathe in. Gaze forward past the fingertips. If your right hip is opening up, then most likely you are going to lose your balance as we move toward this next posture variation. So keep your right toes pointing straight down, right kneecap pointing straight down. Sacroiliac joint is level. Perch up onto the left fingertips. Maybe left palm floats for 3, 2, 1. Replace the palm. Really slowly step the right foot forward. Rise up, crescent lunge. Lifting up and out of the hips if you feel any compression in the lower back. Just focusing rather than on bending to the back, opening at the left hip. 1 more in-breath here. Exhale, hands to hips, squeeze the shoulder blades together behind you, fold forward, spring onto your right leg, lifting and flaring the toes, shifting more weight into your standing heel. Gliding the right hip back so you're toggling the hips so they're even. Left toes remain pointing straight down. 3 cycles of breath. 2 and 1. Continuing to balance, come all the way up into Vrikshasana, tree pose. Left foot can kickstand to the arch of the right foot. It can come to the inner calf or the inner thigh, but the foot is completely above or below the knee joint. Again, notice if your right hip is swinging out to the right, hug it in and up as you roll the left thigh open. To play with your balance, extend the fingertips tall, and with an unbroken glide of the eyes, maybe lift the gaze past the fingertips. For 3, 2, and 1. Hands down through heart center. Interlace the hands behind the sacrum. Squeeze the shoulder blades together behind you. Draw your left knee in front of your hip. Kick the left heel straight back. Warrior 3 variation once again. This might be plenty. If it is, stay here. Otherwise, just as we did at the beginning, sole of the foot bends in toward the hip. Hands clasp around the top of the foot. Kick into the hand. Heart forward. Tailbone lengthens back. Shifting more weight into the standing heel, lifting weight off of the toes. That might make you wobble, but it will train the fast twitch muscle fibers that help you maintain dynamic balance for 3, 2, 1. Without slingshotting, release, step it back, crescent lunge, breathe it all the way up. Exhale, plant the palms, high plank. Inhale, 1 or 2-legged flow all the way to your belly. Zip up through the inseams of the legs,
Drive the hips down, Shalambhasana, locust pose. Exhale, tuck the toes, lift up and back. Downward facing dog. Take one breath to reset. Maybe give a little sigh. And float the left leg to the sky. Inhale. Check out your left toes. They're pointing straight down. The left kneecap is pointing down, and that will give you a good indication that your hips are level. Gaze forward, perch up onto the right fingertips. That might be plenty. Hug your right hip in and roll it up. So we're not just shifting the weight left to right, but we're stabilizing at center. Hover your right palm for 3, 2, 1. Right palm down, left foot to the top of the mat, crescent lunge. Let the breath settle in as you settle into the shape. Hands to hips. Inhale, lift the chest. Fold halfway down. Spring forward. Virabhadrasana 3. Give yourself an adjustment. Glide the left hip back. Maybe roll the right hip down 1/2 inch. Lift and flare all 5 left toes. Transition to standing, kickstand, calf, or inner thigh, completely avoiding the knee joint. Rolling the right thigh open. Staying lifted out of the left hip. Stay here, or swim the fingertips high. Maybe lift the gaze. 3, 2, and bring it back down through center, maintaining a balanced breath. Right knee forward, interlace the hands behind the sacrum, the awkward clasp, other finger is on top. Kick the heel back. Maybe stay here, rinsing the shoulders open. Maybe bend the right knee. Hands hook in front of the foot. Kick into the hand, heart forward, tailbone back. One more breath without slingshotting. On your next exhalation, you'll step it back, anchor the hips. With the breath, lift all the way up. And replant the palms, step it back. One-legged high plank if you choose. All the way to your belly. Shalambhasana, locust pose. And retuck the toes, lift up and back. Downward facing dog. Float the right leg to the sky as you breathe in. Bend the knee, keep the hips level. Lift the knee up, gaze forward, perch up onto the fingertips. That first variation that we took, just hovering the left hand or left hand clasps to right foot, kick into the hand, tailbone back, heart forward. For 3, 2, and 1. Left palm plants. Keep the breath steady. Rise up, crescent lunge. And blossom open, Virabhadrasana B. Right thigh externally rotates, right knee tracking over the midline of the foot, which for most of us means we shift our right shin toward the right. Keep the kneecap pointing straight forward, straighten the front leg. Rather than just hanging out in your right knee, like I'm doing now, draw the quadricep up the leg to stabilize and support the joints. Swing or hug the heels in toward the midline of the body, then swing the hips back, reach the right fingertips forward. When the right arm and side body are parallel to the ground, that's a good place to just release the arm to your hand to your shin, foot, or a block. Left fingertips toward the sky. So at any point, you're engaging your legs so strongly that you're not bearing weight on this bottom arm. 3 breaths. 2. Keep these left fingertips reaching, and on 1, exhale, rebend the right knee. Your hand now placed to the pinky toe side of the right foot on a block or to the ground is at a height that allows your right hip to scoop underneath you, your chest to open up toward the sky. So press your right shin into your right forearm, and if you have a block, reach your block as far forward as you can, spring forward onto the right leg for Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. Positioning of the lower body remains the same. Kick the outer knife edge of the left foot high. And if you have the space, bend the left knee. Left hand binds to left foot. Kick into the hand, roll the shoulders open. Chapasana. Cycle the breath through the front of the body in a balanced way. Without slingshotting, slowly release. Lift it back up, warrior 2, and windmill the palms down. High plank, breathing in. Lower all the way to your belly, breathing out. Climb up onto your forearms. Right forearm propped up underneath you with your elbow beneath your shoulder. You can have fingertips forward or forearm in line with your chest, your choice. Left knee bends just as it was in that half moon variation. Left hand to the instep of the left foot. Drive the front of the hips down to lengthen through the tailbone. Drive the elbow down to lift out of the right shoulder. And then hug your heel in. As you do so, kick back into the hand. So Ardha Bhekasana, half frog pose. Complete the exhalations. Allow your body and your mind that opportunity to soften. And slowly release. Lift up, lifting from your belly, downward facing dog. Notice the difference between the two sides of your body. Float the left leg to the sky. Bend the left knee, keeping the hips level. Perch up onto the right fingertips. Right hand wraps for the left foot. Kick back into the hand. Cultivate the breath within the wobbles. Without slingshotting, right palm down, left foot to the top of the mat. Rise up, crescent lunge. Blossom open, warrior 2. Roll the thighs out, hug the heels in. Straighten the front leg without letting the thigh roll in with you. Keep the energy drawing up through the legs. Swing the hips back, reach the left fingertips forward. When the left side body and arm are parallel to the earth, just release the arm from there. That's usually a pretty good indicator of where we need to place the palm, to the shin, foot, block, at whatever height. And right fingertips to the sky. Keep on rolling the chest open. And keep the fingertips reaching. On your next exhalation, rebend the left knee. Place your hand, if it's not already there, to the pinky toe side of the left foot on a block or to the mat at a height, again, that enables this left hip to roll underneath you. Right side waist to roll open. So you're stacked, opening up rather than closing down. Gaze down. If you have the block, bring it with you. Reach the left fingertips as far forward as you can. Spring onto the left leg. Dorsiflex the top foot. Drive the knife edge of the top foot to the sky until you feel your glutes fire up to support your pelvis. Keep that height. If you choose, bend the knee, bind right hand to right foot. Kick into the hand, send the hips forward, roll the chest open. So if to get this bound variation, you're closing off the chest, not worth it. Stay stacked, stay opening, changing your orientation to gravity in space to challenge your balance. And without slingshotting, release, right foot back and down. Warrior two, inhale. And exhale, palms down. High plank, breathing in. And all the way down to your belly, breathing out. Left elbow beneath the left shoulder. Keep the elbow driving down to stay lifted out of the left shoulder. Palm in front of you or forearm parallel to your chest. Drive the hips down, and as you do so, notice what happens in my body. I press the fronts of my hips into the mat, and I automatically scoop my core up. So my lower back stays supported as I move towards spinal extension. Right hand to the instep of the foot. Knee reaches back. Hand hugs the heel in. Foot kicks back into the hand. One more breath. And slowly release. Plant the palms, lift up and back, downward facing dog. Again, just observe the difference between the two sides of the body as well as the overall shift. Balanced breath. As you inhale, float the left leg to the sky. Exhale, left foot hooks behind the right foot. Walk your hands back. Cross-legged forward fold at the back of the mat. You can stagger the feet and broaden the feet as much as you'd like. As well, you can bend the knees as much as feels good to get you into a more accessible space in the hamstrings. Lift halfway up as you breathe in. Bow back down, breathing out. Hug the legs to the midline of the body. This is balancy. Bring yourself all the way up. And hands down through heart center, exhale. Left hand glides down the left leg, right arm alongside your ear, reaching all the way up and over to the left. Take a cycle of breath here. And in breath brings you back up, reach tall. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. In breath lifts you halfway up, lengthen. Walk the hands forward, downward facing dog. Float the right leg to the sky, left leg to the sky, breathing in. Left foot to the top of the mat, breathing out. Crescent lunge as you inhale. We're going to dynamically transition to the top of the mat, catching ourselves in Natarajasana, dancer's pose. So left arm alongside the ear. Right hand by your side like you're carrying a platter. Your right palm stays facing up. For whatever reason, when we transition, I see students want to flip their palms over. The shoulder head is rolling open, externally rotating, not internally rotating. Shift forward without moving the hand. Clasp the instep of the right foot. Knee tracks straight back, kick into the hand, heart reaches forward. For 3, 2, and 1. Slow motion, release. Step it back, crescent, breathing in. Plant the palms, breathing out all the way down to your belly. Fingertips reach back, knees stay hugging in, hip width distance. You might want to bring the big toes to touch to have that act as a barometer for keeping the knees toward one another. Kick into the hands. As you drive the fronts of the hips down to keep the lower back long, then soles of the feet drive to the sky. Balanced breath. Even as the body is warming, cool the mind down as you breathe in and out. One more in breath. And release. Plant the palms. Lift up and back. Downward facing dog. Float the right leg to the sky. Inhale. Right foot hooks behind the left foot. Exhale. Walk the hands back, cross-legged forward fold. Stagger the feet, widen the feet, bend the knees. Find the expression of the pose that works best for your body, giving you access into new spaces through the hip and the hamstrings. In-breath lifts you halfway up. Exhale, bow back down. Root down, raise all the way up. Reverse swan dive, watch and feel the palms connect. Hands to heart center. Right hand glides down the right leg. Left arm reaches alongside the ear, palm facing down. And in-breath brings you back up to center. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold without gripping in the toes. In-breath lifts you halfway up, lengthen. Exhale, walk the hands forward, downward facing dog. Right leg floats up, breathing in. Lightly step to the top of the mat, breathing out. Anchor the hips, crescent lunge. Again, preparing for the dynamic transition into Natarajasana. Right arm stays alongside the ear, palm facing the left. Left hand by your hip, palm facing up. Shoulder is hugging to the back body. Spring onto the right leg, catch a hold of the instep of the left foot. Knees tracking straight down. Again, it wants to wing out. Kick directly back, tailbone lengthening, heart reaching. For 3, 2, and 1. Slowly release without slingshotting, crescent lunge. Inhale. Exhale, plant the palms. All the way down through Chaturanga to your belly. One last time, Dhanurasana, boat pose. Kicking into the hands, hugging the legs to the midline, driving the hips down, lifting the heart forward and up. One more in-breath. And release. Stack the palms, right cheek to your hands. Wiggle the hips from side to side, releasing any sacral or lumbar pressure. And feel the body breathe itself. And bring the other cheek to your hands. Feel the breath even out. Staying on your belly, beginning to cool down with the spinal twist. Lift your chest. Keep your right palm rooted. Left hand threads the needle through the space of the right hand and right hip. Bring your right knee to the right, in line with your hip. So you have a 90-degree angle at your hip, a 90-degree angle at your knee, a 90-degree angle at your ankle. Sandwich the palms together. Then moving counterclockwise, right arm rolls up and over, windmilling you into a twist. If you have a lot of room in your lower back and your right hip, maybe extend the right leg to straight. Bind left hand to outer leg or foot. And just roll all the way onto your back. To deepen, roll your right hip down away from your right shoulder. As if you're trying to get longer through the right side of your waist. Release the bind if you have it. As you breathe in, roll all the way back through center. And breathing out, twist to the other side. Left palm down, right arm threads the needle. Left knee reaches to the left. Sandwich the palms. Take a counterclockwise motion with the left arm, opening all the way up into a twist. And if you choose to take the bind on this side, continue to roll so your left shoulder is touching down. You're connected through your back. Maybe gaze past the left fingertips, or if it allows you to soften in, close the eyes. Tuning in rather than checking out. Left hip rolls away from you to deepen. So if you're trying to lengthen the left side of the waist. And on your next in-breath, release the bind. Bring yourself back to your belly. And press back through a wide-kneed child's pose. Hips to heels, or support your hips with a pillow or a block if this is challenging for your joints. Release the next exhalation so completely that you feel yourself melt into the mat a little bit more. And then walk yourself back up as you breathe in. Shift your hips to one side. And we'll come into double pigeon on our backs. So finding a place, a supine place, where your left shin is parallel to the top of the mat. Your right ankle crosses over the top of your left thigh. Foot stays dorsiflex, so we're not tugging on the outer ankle. Inner and outer edges of the joints remain equal length. And then allow the right thigh to roll open from here. So our aim is to get this right hip back down. And then from there, eventually, right knee down to meet the left. You can see I have quite a bit of space. So it's not about that physical expression of the pose, but we're feeling the usefulness, the helpfulness of the pose, even if it's providing immediate discomfort. How do we work with that? With the breath in a balanced way. So we're not pushing past our edge. We're also not always staying in familiar territory.
One more breath here. And slowly bring your right knee back up with the help of the hand. Take a little twist over to the left, right knee to the left, right arm out to the right. In breath brings you back to center. Right shin parallel to the top of the mat. Left ankle crosses over the right thigh. And working toward stacking the shins, rolling this left hip down. Eventually it will touch down. You'll get deep into the hip rotators and into the hip flexors here as well. So you'll definitely feel those sticky areas. Amidst the intensity, navigate that space. Rather than pushing, soften into your edge with your breath. Begin to even out both sides of the body. And when you're ready, left hand helps the left thigh up and over. Do a full twist there. Inhalation brings you back to center. Find happy baby. Hands to the outer edges of the feet. And in happy baby, notice how my tailbone is pointing up. I'm rolling through my lower back. Instead of this, press down into your sacrum so your lower back is neutral. And that will also give us the benefit of deepening the stretch through the hips as we draw the heels toward the crown of the head. And rock from side to side. And find stillness if you choose. Give yourself 3 more breaths there. And release into Shavasana. Legs extend out long, arms down by your sides, palms facing up. Take your time to adjust the body so you're comfortable enough for a few minutes. So again, that balance doesn't necessarily mean even, stagnant, unchanging. Doesn't necessarily mean easy. So once you've found your Shavasana, allow that to be enough. Release the perpetual fidgeting, the perpetual urge to constantly adjust. Notice any urges to move. And find an untense, balanced space in your stillness just by the way you approach your stillness. Soften and continue to breathe. Deepen the breath. If this is your time to come out of Shavasana, if you have more time, feel free to stay there. Arms alongside the ears, stretch out as tall as you can be, like you're waking up from the best night's sleep you've ever had. Then bend your knees, roll to your right side, and slowly help yourself up to a comfortable seat. Full breath in. And complete breath out. Thank yourself for your practice and invite the practice to stay with you and support you in body, breath, and mind. And thank you so much for tuning in with me. Namaste.